started, and as people come in, we'll welcome them into the episode also. So I want to welcome you all to another episode of Quilting with Tina. I am so delighted that this is our fifth episode, I think fifth. Yeah, fourth or fifth. And it's doing so well. I think I finally figured out the right time and date for everybody to come in, and you can rewatch these through the Facebook and through the YouTube, my YouTube channel also, which is in the links below. Hello, Kim. Welcome. And if you guys would just, like Kim did, say hello and maybe tell me where you're from, that would be great, because that way I know exactly where you are. I'm hoping everybody's had a great day. I know there's a lot of anticipation out there of what's going to happen within the next 24 hours to the next week with the election. So I'm hoping you've gone out and voted. I know I have. When I voted by mail, so in my mail ballot was already counted, and I know that because they sent me an email. So that was great to know that they would do that. Okay. So I'm going to get started with the episode. So last week I showed you the differences between the Studio 180 Design corner pop tools. There's three different tools. There's the original corner pop, the corner pop 2, and the corner pop 3. Today I want to continue that by bringing in and showing you what you can do with popping flying geese, which is the method that I use in my newest book, Popping with Wings, which will come out later this week. So today I'm going to show you 3 different units that I have in my book from 3 different quilts. Oh, hi, Sherry. Nice to see you. Happy birthday. So I'm going to show you that. And if you haven't heard, or just a reminder, I will be hosting this Friday on this regular Facebook page my book launch right here at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. During the launch, we'll be highlighting some of the great features of the book and showing you a tour of the stunning quilts, and we're going to do a little book tour walkthrough also. So let's go ahead and get started showing you what we can do with flying geese. So like I said, I've taken 3 different units from the book. These are 3 different quilts, and I broke them out. These are corner pop 2s, and this is a corner pop 3. And I'm going to show you how to use the corner pop tools in making these flying geese units. So we're going to start with Asterisk Star, which is the very first quilt in the book. The quilt the Asterisk Star, and this unit is is one of the units that you make for that quilt. And I'm going to show you how easy it is, and how easy it is, how different things can get when you change a flying geese unit into a popped unit. So let's get started with that unit first. So what we're going to do first is we're going to cut our replacement triangles. And we're going to need our corner pop 2 tool, and we're going to need a strip of fabric. This strip of fabric is 5 inches, and I forgot my rotary cutter, so I'll use this one. So I'm going to use this rotary cutter for our demonstration today. So what I've done is I cut a 5-inch strip. You can tell by the size of this. So for cutting your replacement triangles, you're going to use this portion of the tool. You can see replacement triangle line, which is a bold line that goes down the angle of the tool. And we're going to place that on the 5-inch line. So, because we want these to be 4.5 when unfinished. So we're going to line that up, the 5-inch at the bottom, and the bold line along the edge of our strip. Now, I've layered my strip with wrong sides together. That way I can get a side triangle. I'm going to need a triangle type 1 and a triangle type 2. So we're going to cut one at once. So we'll get both units. So I'll show you that. So once you get those lined up and your ruler straight, you're going to make a cut. Now I'm going to do these left-handed. In my book, I do show you instructions for right-handed and left-handed on the tools. And also the instructions for your tool also shows you how to cut both ways also. So let's go ahead and make our first cut. So all you're going to do is follow the angle. Voila. You have 2 units, just like you would do for a corner beam or a V block. That's what you're going to be cutting. So we have our side triangles, our replacement triangles for the sides. That's what you're going to do for your first cut. Now, if you need to cut another one, what do? So what you really need to do for this is you're going to line up the tool at the bottom of your strip. And you're going to place it, the 5-inch line should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5-inch line should replace at the top. And you should use the dashed line right here for the lineup of the side, the tip of that triangle. And I'm going to place that other line right there on that side, the tip of here. Back this up again. Okay, we've got it. And I'm going to make my second cut. So you would do that back and forth for each cut. So you line up here with the 5-inch and the bold line, cut, and then with your dashed line and your 5-inch line and the bottom, you line up your second one. It's all explained in the book. I'll be going through this again through other quilts blocks that we're going to be making today. So we've got our units. We got our side triangles cut. And now we are ready to play with our Flying Geese units. Now what I've done, you can see the difference in the 2 units. The Flying Geese are right here, and these are the side triangles on the side. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop this side, and then we're going to flip it over and we're going to pop this side. So to get started, we need a type 1. Type 1, you're going to start with your right sides up. And you're going to place, again, you're going to place your tool. I need to do this for right-handed or for left-handed. Your tool on your unit. What you're going to do is, we're going to cut away 4 inches. Fairly similar to the corner pops that we've done in the past. That's kind of that concept. And what we're going to do is we're going to line up the 4-inch right here. And the line going up here, this narrow line that goes with this 4-inch, we're going to line up on the side of that Flying Geese unit. Now, I've pressed the seams open on this to keep the bulk down so we can continue on. And got that lined up, and I'm going to make my cut. So we just cut away our first piece here. We can just set that to the side. We're going to take our type 1 triangle, flip our unit over on top of it, and you would basically go over and do 1/4 inch seam allowance as you would do in anything else. And you then would have a unit that looks like this. And now then you would take and press the seams open once again, because you're going to control all the bulk you can with this unit here. To trim this unit, we started with right sides up for type 1. We need to flip it over to wrong sides up, because we're going to use our trim down side right here, and we're going to need the 4-inch line right here. That's going to line up right on your seam. And this is another reason to keep your seams pressed open. That way you can get a more accurate trim with these units. So line that up. I think I got it all the way to the top. Yep. I don't want to get it in your way, so I'm going to keep my head out of the camera as much as possible. And what you're going to do is then trim up and around to clean up this unit. So let's go ahead and do that to show you. Okay, so now we have our unit trimmed nice and clean on the side. What we're going to do now is we're going to do the pop on the opposite side. So we're going to take our type 2 and we're going to do a type 2 cut on this side. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it, flip it over again. The same concept as what we did for the type 1, except wrong sides up, 4-inch cut, and you get to trim that away. Didn't get it all the way. Trim that away. And what you're going to do again is you're going to take this unit and flip it over this to the other side. And you're going to flip both of them over. You really want your unit on top because of the fact, excuse me, my dogs are being silly. Sorry about that. So what we're going to do, we want to control our seams as we go through the sewing machine. If it's at the bottom, we cannot do that. So that needs to be under control, and we can sew with our 1/4 inch on top, controlling our seams as we hit them with our pressing foot. So we get a 1/4 inch, then you're going to press them again open, and we're going to trim down this time. This time we're going to trim with the right sides up. So each time you do something reverse, wrong sides up, you trim right sides up. If you trim, it's very explanatory in the book. I tell you to turn it right side up, wrong side up. It depends on what you're doing. So you really have to pay attention. But when you're working with type 1s, you have wrong side up, right side up here, trim wrong side. Type 2s, you're going to trim wrong side up, and you're going to cut away wrong side up and trim with the right side up. So we're to that point. We're now going to It's just reverse each time you do it. So this time I want to make sure my unit is completely square. So we have 1/2 inch lines across this unit here. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half. So this line here matches up with my side of my unit here and down to the bottom. And so we're going to trim that away. Because I have the 4-inch on the line also, my seam line. And I'm going to explain that a little bit better on the next one on your trimming. I'm sorry about that. I'm hoping I made it clear. So that's what your unit would look like, finished, exactly the same. And I recommend when you first start out is to just take one unit at a time, and then you can work into chain piecing. That way you get into a flow of how things work. So I'm going to show you the next unit, which we're going to use a type 2 also, but it's going to be completely different this time. You're going to take 2 Flying Geese units that would look like this, and we're going to pop each one of them separately. So we get a unit that looks like this, and we have a unit here that is different also. So we are going to start, and I'm going to do this with the pinks. And I'm going to start with the pink right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our type 1. And I want to flip it. So you can see that type 1 is on this side of this unit. Type 1 always slants to the right. Type 2 slants to the left. So we're going to start with a type 1 unit, and we're going to pop this side of this Flying Geese unit. This time we're going to be using a 2-inch cutaway. So I'm going to take my tool, and we are going to cut away 2 inches from this Flying Geese unit. And we're going to go ahead and cut that away. So this is a type 1. So you can see that it slants to the right. Now, my Flying Geese, my replacement Flying Geese are 3 inches. They come from a strip that looks like this. And what you're going to do is the same aspect of what we did the first one is we're going to go ahead and cut 2 of them at the time. Same time, they're going to be mirrored. Type 1 and a type 2. This is a 3-inch. So we're going to look for that 3-inch line, which is on here. And it's probably hard for you to see that this is the 3-inch line. Sorry about that. And we're going to take this bold line, the replacement triangle cut line, and we're going to place that on the edge there and make our first cut. Now, if we need to continue on, what you're going to do is you're going to find that dashed line there, the very first one on this edge, and you're going to line that bottom up at the bottom. So you're going to have a 3-inch. You can see where that line goes across this 3-inch. And the bottom is at the very end of this strip right here. And you're going to make your second cut. Then you're going to repeat. Line up on the dashed line, cut, and then go to the next one. Bold line, and then the dashed. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take and we're going to take this type 1 here, and we're going to flip this over, and you're going to stitch a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Again, remember to keep your unit on top of the triangle so you can see your seams that you're sewing over with your pressing foot, and you can control them. 1/4 inch. Once you get that done, you're going to press the seams open again, and then it's time to trim down. Now remember, this is a type 1 unit, so we're going to trim it down with the reverse side up. And I need to get that just right. And we're going to, this time, we're going to go back to our 2-inch, which is the size of the unit, the finished size of the unit that we need. And we're going to line this up along that seam line right there. You're going to go up and across, just like you would do anything else when you would trim down. Get these out of the way. So now we've got our type 1 done. We now need to put on our type 2 replacement triangle. To do that, we need to have the reverse side of this unit. So we're going to flip this unit back over, and we're going to trim this edge with the 2-inch cutaway on the tool. So now we're going to make a cut. So now you see, that's why we reverse it, so you can have a reversed triangle cut here. You're going to go ahead and flip this unit over, and then flip it again so you can stitch a 1/4 inch seam allowance across, so you can control that seam line right there. And you're going to make sure you keep this all lined up along the edge here. Then you're going to take it and you're going to press it open, the seams open again. Now we're going to trim this down with the right sides up. And we need to make sure this line lines up here, and we're over around the 4.5 inch line here and here. There are dashed lines that you can't see here, but they are here on this tool. And what you're going to do again is trim it up. Okay, I'm just making sure we don't have any comments. So you have that unit, and then the final thing I do is I line up the 4.5 inch, the 2.5 here, and I cut off the tips of these replacement triangles before I can sew. Now I've already done the black unit that was in this one to show you what you would need to do. So you just replace the same aspect. You replace the black with a tan right here, replacement types 1 and 2. So now we can sew these together. So basically they're going to sit like this. You're going to sew these together. Now when you sew Flying Geese units together, and this is something Deb's talked about, and I've talked about in my classes also, you should sew with your Flying Geese, one of your Flying Geese units straight up so you can see the point. So when you go across to do your 1/4 inch, you can control that presser foot, and you can control where that hits. Your needle hits that point. So you're not too far in or too far over. So you get a perfect line up each time with your the sewing machine. So you do that cross, and then I press these open. That's what those look like. So they can look completely different. It's amazing what a unit looks like when things are popped. I'm hoping you see that they're completely different. They look different. And especially in a quilt, when they're sewn around with other pieces, they do make it look like they're not even flying geese units anymore. Sometimes it looks like you have stencils going through. So the third unit is a corner pop 3 unit. Corner pop 3 is very similar to everything else that we've just done with the corner pop 2s. Except that these are a little bit wider for replacements on the corner pop 2s. You're gonna find these are a little bit narrower. So let me switch tools here. This is the corner pop 3 tool. Same aspect of the tool. You're going to have your replacement and cutaway side, and you're going to have your trim down side. So this is the unit we're going to be basically trying to make here. And these are the replacement triangles. I'm going to show you that in a second. So this is what your Flying Geese unit looked before and after. So that's what our goal is, to change this up. So what I want to do now is I want to show you how to get the replacement triangles off of this piece here. This piece here, we're going to use I think we're using the 4-inch again. Yes, we are. And we're going to cut a 4-inch flying replacement triangle. Again, I folded my fabric in half, wrong sides together, so I can get type 1s and type 2s. Makes it a lot faster. So I line up my 4-inch here, my bold. Sorry about that. I'm sorry about that. My dogs hear things outside. 4-inch here, and the replacement triangle line here. And we're going to trim this down. So you get your first cut. Now the second cut, now you remember on the corner pop 2s we used the dashed line. This time we are going to use, I marked a line that is 1/8 of an inch over that line on my tool I have a Visigrip on the back so I can mark things where I want placement lines on my tool. So we want to mark a 1/8 of an inch beyond that dashed line, just to give us a little bit more wiggle room. And they talk about that in the instructions of the tool, so you can make sure you do that with your tool. And what we're going to do is I'm going to place this, the 1/8 of an inch line that I marked on the top side here, and the bottom is lined up with the tool here. And I'm going to cut across. Again, I'm going to walk this through again one more time. So this time we're going to take that 4-inch bold line, replacement cut line, and the 4-inch line here, line it on the top here, and we are going to make our first cut. And the second one, we're going again the 1/8 of an inch mark and the bottom of the tool. are going to line up just like so. You have your 4-inch here and the bottom of the tool on the bottom. You're going to cut across. So now we have type 1 and type 2 units, replacement units. So now we're going to take this Flying Geese unit, and again, I press seams open on this, and we're going to trim away 3 inches for this unit. We're not going to go as high as we did with the other unit. This unit uses a tickle. It is actually in the quilt behind me. It uses a smaller pop to it, just to change it just a little bit to give it some spike. So we're going to use the 3-inch line. We're going to line that line, the 3-inch line, the bottom of this Flying Geese unit, and the thinner line here. We're going to line up against the side of Flying Geese, and you're going to cut across. And that's what it looks like. So we've cut our type 1 unit out, and we're going to take a type 1 replacement triangle, and we're going to replace this piece with that. Flip it over, center it as best as you can. Doesn't have to be perfect. Remember, these are always they're going to be trimmed down because we like to make them oversized. And you're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way down. Remember to watch your seams as you go, to not make sure you don't something doesn't get turned over or messed up in your machine. I recommend a stylist or something to hold them down. Your seam ripper would actually work great for this, to hold it down as you go over those with your feet, your presser foot. 1/4 inch seam allowance. Take it over to your ironing board and press your seams open. So now we're ready to trim down our type 1 unit. And we always remember that we need to flip it over for the type 1s over for a reverse cut for our trim down. What we're going to do is we're going to line that 3-inch line right here along the side here, seam line, and we are going to then cut this away also. That's how easy. And remember, these are all oversized, so if you mess up just a little bit, you can there's wiggle room to get back on track. So now we need to put on our type 2 unit. So remember we need to take 3 inches away, and we're going to do this as a type 2. So we're going to flip the unit over, and we're going to trim this side off. So this would be the mirrored side of our other side that we just did. And we're going to use the 3-inch line here on the bottom and the solid line that goes all the way down along the side of this Flying Geese unit. Take this and cut away. So this is what it looks like when you get it cut away, just like when we did to type 1s. You're going to take your type 2 replacement, lay it to the side of the unit, and you're going to flip this over. Again, centering as best as you can. 1/4 inch seam allowance, watching your seams, and then going to your ironing board and pressing your seams open. So now we know that we've got this correct. We're going to flip this around. We're going to keep our right sides up, and we're going to trim down to 3-inch line replacement. So you can see my dashed lines are matching up here, and my seam line is exactly on that seam right there between the gray, the blue, and the white, all the way up. And you're going to just trim this away. So that is basically how to use those tools. Fairly easy. Once you get, like I said, once you get comfortable with one unit, you make another unit, get comfortable again, and then you can start chain piecing them over and over again. Practice a little bit with the tools, get to use understanding when you need to turn them right sides up and wrong sides up. Like I said in my book, I'll turn the asterisk star to show you. Actually, let me start here. In my book, this is the corner pop 2s. I show you what type 2s are and type 1s. And I tell you when the base shape should be right side up for a type 1. The replacement triangles should be right side up. And the finished trim down will be wrong side up. And I walk you through how to cut the triangles for both type 1 and type 2, and then cutting away the corners. Now, when you're doing the basic unit, the base shape here, it's the same for Flying Geese as it would be for a square. Any type base unit you do, it's the same. So I walk you through for those corner pops, how to trim them down, trim for type 1 and 2, and then I walk you for 3 also. Now in the pattern section, we do the same thing. Is for the Flying Geese, we walk you through how to make the Flying Geese units, cutting your replacement triangles, what you need to do. I tell you what pages they are on in the book, so you can refer back to that page. And for the pops of the units, I walk you through each step. You just follow each step, and I give you diagrams on what corner you need to pop. And if you need to refer back to that page that it talks about the cutaway types for 1 and 2, you just go to those page numbers. And I also tell you to press the seams open. It depends on what pattern you're using, which you're doing. So that's the basic idea of what the book looks like when I'm doing this. I'm going to give a more demonstration of the book walkthrough when this this Friday at 7 p.m. when we launched the book. So that you got a sneak peek. So if anybody has any questions, I'm going to wait for a few more minutes to see if there's any questions. I thank you all for showing up and listening to me ramble on. I hope I made some sense on how to use those units, how to make these units. It's amazing what these units look like from the beginning to when you change them and you put them in a quilt also. So if not, I don't think there's any questions. I thank you all for showing up and checking in today. I hope you have a good election day, and we'll see what happens at the end of the day, I guess. So again, remember, this Friday is the launch of my book. We're going to have a complete walkthrough of the book, give you a tour of the book, give you the tour of the quilts virtually the best as I can. So I'm so excited to get this launched. So this Friday at 7 p.m. right here on the Quilting Affection Designs Facebook page. And I hope to see you there. Tell your friends. And I will see you then. Bye.